Hello and welcome to Thursday Night Live here at the 3ABN studios. You might notice this is going to be a great program because
Yes,
I have my co-host, my lovely wife with me. Good to have you here, honey.
Oh, I'm so excited about tonight's subject.
I tell you.
Reversing chronic disease.
Oh, I tell you, we have a deal for you. Not let's make a deal, not the real deal, but the Hans deal.
Amen.
Dr. Diehl, good to have you here.
Good to be here.
And every time we get together, it is a program that it ignites my desire to become healthier.
Yeah, it does.
I always think I'm doing very well until I sit down on a program with you. And then you give me a boost to get back on track with my health. But you're not by yourself tonight.
No.
We have Dr. Scott Stoll. Good to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you very much, John and Angie. It's just a delight to be with you.
Yes, and I'm going to let our viewers and listeners know that you cannot afford to turn away from the program. If you're in your car, turn the volume up. If you're at home, hit the record button, because if somebody's in your home that needs to hear the program and misses it, the thing you're going to say is, I should have recorded it. So record it now and sit back for the next 2 hours. It's not just going to be a program where you listen, but in the second hour, we're going to give you an opportunity to send in your questions.
That's right.
You can call them in. We'll give you the information in just a moment how to do that. But anytime we talk about health, who wouldn't want to spend less on health and more on vacation?
Oh, health is wealth, isn't it?
Health is wealth.
It's wealth.
If you gave me a choice between being a millionaire and being completely healthy, I would choose option 2. Because with health, you can build wealth.
Exactly.
But with wealth, you cannot buy health. And so we want to find out what's happening in America today, honey. We go to the doctor every now and then.
Yeah.
And we went to Australia recently, and when we went to customs, they said to us, I can share this with you, they said to us, do you have any medication to declare? And what do we say?
No.
And they said, where are you from? We said, America. They said, everyone from America has medication to declare. And I said, we don't.
No.
And we actually felt good.
Yeah.
We actually felt good to go across customs and have no medication to declare. And we're not going to tell you our age, but thank the Lord for health.
Amen.
And so tonight we're going to talk about what health is all about and how we could spend less, how we can reverse many of the chronic diseases that are inflicting people, how we can change the way we eat, because your food should be your medicine.
Yes.
Your medicine should not be your food. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. And Dr. Hans Diehl and Dr. Scott Stoll are going to guide the program, and we are excited. Well, we have an exciting program tonight. I'm going to dive right into it because we have 2 men here that I'm so thankful to have. Dr. Diehl, we have had many programs together, and I always like to give way to your knowledge and experience. But you have someone here tonight that I want to introduce to the audience that's listening and watching the program. And Dr. Scott Stoll, am I saying that correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
Just give us an overview. We're going to kind of delve further into your background and what you do and exactly the focus of the program tonight. But just tell us in a nutshell who you are, where you're from, and what you do right now.
Yeah, thank you. It's just such an honor to be here, and I love being here with my friend, Dr. Diehl. Such a great joy. First, I always describe myself, I'm a follower of Jesus.
Amen.
Most importantly.
Amen.
I have a beautiful wife, and I have 6 children, and now 1 grandchild, so those are the essence of who I am.
Amen.
You know, I was trained in medical school in University of Colorado in Colorado, and I currently live in Pennsylvania. And about a year and a half ago, I actually stepped out of my active practice of medicine, doing sports medicine, to do lifestyle medicine, to invest my time in a not-for-profit that we started called the Plantrition Project, which is designed to educate physicians and healthcare practitioners around the world with the idea that food is medicine and lifestyle can prevent, suspend, and reverse the most common diseases that are affecting people all over the world today.
Wow, that's a nutshell. That's not a peanut shell. That's a cashew nut shell. But
that's a global.
I mean, we're going to really unwrap this tonight because that is what you've just talked about. You know, in America, we have this health crisis. But then again, around the world, health is an issue everywhere you go. But I think what we're going to be talking about tonight is the ways that we can make choices to reverse a lot of the things that are lifestyle related. Not broken bones and other things like that, but lifestyle related issues. And Dr. Diehl has been on the forefront of this with your medical experience, your practice, your dedication. You have been with Lifestyle Medicine Institute for some time. There's possibly someone listening tonight that doesn't know who you are.
Right.
That's rare, but just kind of fill them in.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we started this about 30 years ago when we recognized that probably most of our modern killer diseases are largely related to choices people make and to choices that the culture makes for us. And we are really aware of what is really happening there. And so as we begin to understand more and more how lifestyle choices influence our overall health, our lifespan, and the quality of our lives, we begin to realize that there is now a real awakening here in America, in the Western countries where these diseases were very prominent initially. Now they have gone global, they have gone viral. It's the Western lifestyle, it's the Western diet that is just invading every part of the planet. And therefore you see now heart disease and strokes, and you see obesity, you see high blood pressure problems, you see diabetes now emerging everywhere. These were rare diseases 30 years ago in many countries around the world. Today, they're just about spreading everywhere. And so we are beginning to understand that we need to do something about, perhaps, of looking at real health reform. What can we do to really begin to minimize these chronic diseases? And chronic actually means they're around, right? When you have a chronic disease, there's no magical pill for it
That's right.
that cures it. It's always there. When you die with the pills that you've had for the last 10, 20, 30 years, because they have not really been able to stop the disease in most cases, but it can make you feel more comfortable. But it hasn't really stopped the disease. But we can, in terms of decisions that we make. That's why we call them lifestyle-related diseases.
Okay.
Now, we travel quite a bit, and we notice that we see McDonald's, Burger King, Kentucky Fried Chicken in different countries that we've thought we'd never see there. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, countries around the world are changing from slow food
To fast.
to fast food.
Dying slowly to dying quicker.
And you see, they're living longer, sicker. See, especially in Western society, where we can keep people alive, but not necessarily in the best of possible health. And so we begin to realize that there was a time when we used to eat at home.
That's right.
Now we're eating out, right?
Eating on the run.
So maybe we need to take a look at some of these things.
Yeah.
Because you talked with me as we drove up here today, and you mentioned to me that about 75 to 85% of all the chronic diseases are actually lifestyle related, and we're spending 75 to 85% of our money as a healthcare system on managing chronic diseases without even being able to really turn them off. Tell us about that.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, according to the CDC, they found that 75 to 85% of the cost of healthcare is related to lifestyle diseases, which then are directly related to the choices that we are making. And as Hans said, which is so important, choices that we may not be aware that we're making. They're choices that are influenced by our culture and by marketing today. And it's led us down this slippery slope to develop all of these diseases that were not really present, you know, in our relatives 100 years ago.
True.
And because it's lifestyle, that lifestyle is often communicated by what the generation that's coming next sees in the generation that is before. Mom and dad, you know, what do we say? What is insanity? Doing the same thing but expecting different results. And so in America, you talked about just a moment ago, where pills are really the market, where just making you feel better but not feeling better.
You know, you talked about children. The prognosis, the predictions are that the current generation, the children, will live a shorter life than their parents.
Oh, wow.
We used to go up and up and up in years, even though perhaps we extended oftentimes only the sickness phase, right? But now we're actually facing the idea that perhaps the next generation will have a shorter lifespan than we have. What is really disturbing to some of us, and in this new movement of lifestyle medicine and the plantrician movement, where you're trying to help physicians to utilize plants and diet and food as part of the therapy of reversing these diseases, it is very disturbing to us that in America we're spending $10,000 per family per year on medical care, and up to 85% of that money is spent on managing, symptomatically treating, make you feel better. These chronic diseases that are largely related to how we eat, how we drink, whether we smoke, do we exercise, enough sleep. These are habits that are under our control.
Take a Pepto-Bismol if your stomach hurts, so that sort of thing.
That's right. Yeah, it's estimated the United States has 5% of the world's population, but we consume 75% of the pharmaceutical medications that are produced. 75%.
So they were not really far away when Customs said to us, everybody from America.
They were. That's what I was thinking about when you said that question.
Wow. And they were really shocked when I said no. They said everyone from America has medication to declare, and he said it with a serious face.
Yeah.
But America is, if I'm hearing this correctly, I'm living in America, but so many things have been born here that are affecting the world. So I think we could also say now, as you've been impressed, we can have a rebirth in America.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm going to say it, that's what plantrician is all about.
The project.
The project.
That's exactly right. You know, I love, you know, God's purpose for all of us is to be regenerated, to be reborn.
That's right.
Spiritually in Jesus, but it doesn't end there.
No.
You know, God's desire is that everything around us would begin to be reborn and regenerated. And Hans and I and so many in this movement feel like what we're teaching people, teaching them to take back their choices and learn how to make better choices, helps to begin regenerating every part of their life. And by making different choices with food, we can reverse diseases that are stripping away the quality of life. And so often we think about disease as symptoms, high blood pressure that you can measure, blood work that's elevated. But the real crux of disease is the quality of life that is lost. It's a family that, you know, can't travel because somebody is sick. It's the stress between a husband and wife because one of them is sick. It's the drain of financial resources for the family that's paying for medications and tests and health care. It's the loss of friends because somebody becomes depressed because of an illness. It strips away those most important things. And it also is an opportunity for the enemy to steal the gift that God's put inside of us to share with the world. And so disease is so much more. But I believe, as Hans does, that this area of lifestyle medicine is a way for us to regenerate not just our health, but all of those aspects of our lives so that we can go out and fulfill the calling in our life to be salt and to be light and to bring the good news of the gospel around the world and to have enough energy and abundance of resources that we can reach out to our neighbor and we can take care of our neighbor.
That's right.
That we can reach out to those in need and we have an abundance of energy and vitality and vision and finances to take care of those and to show them the light as well.
You know, it's very interesting. This is really sort of part of intelligent self-care, right?
That's right.
Not just self-care, because you can fall into any kind of a trap. Everybody's selling something. But intelligent health care, that means how do you really relate to the habits in your life, perhaps that have drifted away and have been replaced by habits that are not so much any longer supporting health, but are actually encouraging disease. And what's really, really troubling to some of us is that in America, we spend about $10,000 per year per family. The next country in the world spends about half that much. And yet Americans are only number 42 in life expectancy in the world. So something is sort of disconnected here, isn't it?
You mean as advanced as we are technologically?
Yeah.
We are leaders in military. We have so many things that we could boast about, or boast about has happened here in America. But 43rd as far as health is concerned.
Yeah, but also we have been the leaders in high-tech medicine. We can do diagnosing disease perhaps like we have been the leaders in this area.
Okay.
We can take care of acute care. We can set bones like, you know, we are exceptional when it comes to episodic, acute, emergency care. But when it comes to these chronic diseases, the general population still has the idea, if I just get the best doctor, they can take care of anything.
Oh, yeah.
They can, but when it comes to chronic diseases, which absorb 75 to 85% of our medical budget, when it comes to these diseases, we have a lot of limits, don't we?
That's right.
Tell us about those limitations.
Well, the limits in the management of these chronic lifestyle diseases is that we are simply managing problems as they get worse. And so the only thing that we can do, as people are making choices that cause the problem in the first place, and they continue to make those choices and it gets worse, the only addition that we can have medically is to add more medications, do more tests, do more surgeries. But we also live in this beautiful time in history where we can marry the advancements we have had in healthcare with the lifestyle medicine, and we can truly provide optimal health care for people, not only here around the world, and in doing so, there's going to be enough resources and enough money to take care of everyone. We won't have a healthcare crisis if we marry the advancement in medicine with lifestyle medicine.
Okay.
You know, you talk about heart disease. Now, doesn't bypass surgery solve heart disease? Isn't that the answer?
According to my cardiothoracic surgery friends, it's a temporary fix.
So actually, a bypass can be life-saving.
Yes.
It can be. Sometimes it is the ultimate answer.
It's the only answer sometimes.
Yes, when you are under life-threatening circumstances.
Right.
But what happens after the
Gotta make a
bypass?
change.
Don't these new grafted vessels that you harvest from the leg or from the chest and you stitch it into to create this bypass, don't they clog up again just like the original arteries?
They do, and sometimes more quickly than the original artery, because we're replacing an artery that God built just for that purpose with a vein from the leg, so it's not as strong or robust. And so the research shows that somebody that gets a bypass graft can have a reocclusion or a re-narrowing of that vessel in a shorter period of time than the original vessel took to narrow.
So they have to change their lifestyle.
The solution is the lifestyle.
You know, many times we have overlooked the fact that these grafted vessels, you do a bypass, $150,000.
Wow.
Okay? List. If everything goes well.
Right.
But we overlooked the fact that these, you talked about the veins that are actually weaker than the original arteries. 40% of these grafted vessels are no longer functional within 18 months, according to some of the large studies. Now, the good news is we believe that these grafted vessels can last 10, 20, 25. I have some friends that had them for over 25 years, but they really have made a dramatic change in their lifestyle.
Okay.
And if there is some kind of a genetic predisposition, the good news is we can actually do something about these genes, don't we?
Yeah.
That is the good news. The good news of genetics, especially of these lifestyle diseases, is that your genes that you received from your parents and perhaps your grandparents do not have to become your destiny.
Oh, I love that.
It's this wonderful field of science that we've discovered called epigenetics.
Okay.
And it tells us that the genes that we inherit from our family don't live in the genome, the DNA, but they live above it, called the epigenome, on top of. And the epigenome is influenced by environmental choices. So it goes back to the choices that we're making.
Okay.
So if I were to inherit a very strong predisposition to type 2 diabetes or autoimmune diseases or some cancers or heart disease, the fact that all of my family had that does not mean that I also will receive that in the future if I make a different choice. It's the power of free will that God gave us in the beginning in the Garden of Eden. He gave all of this, this amazing ability to make choices. And the enemy knows this and loves to influence the choices that will bring death and not life.
That's a very, very good point about the free choice. If most of these chronic diseases were strictly or largely genetically related, it really reduces the likelihood that there's a free choice that people can make. You know, when you talked about the epigenetics, you said it was sort of sitting on top. You know, I'm pretty simplistic about these things, you know. I thought about this example here. You know, you have a Mustang.
Okay.
You're sitting on top of a Mustang. The Mustang does what he wants to do. But if you are a good jockey, you know, these little guys,
Yeah, oh yeah, small.
but they have a lot of power
That's right.
in their reins.
Yes.
They will tell the Mustang, they will tell the horse where to go, right or left. And that's what epigenetics does. Epigenetics is our lifestyle, how we eat, our relationship to pressures.
Yeah.
These are sort of factors that then actually help us to turn these switches off on the genes that otherwise could become actually supportive of disease.
Right.
So these are some fascinating ideas that you sort of alluded to.
And if I can just add, Dr. Dean Ornish did an amazing study published in the Journal of Urology. They were looking at patients with low-grade prostate cancer. But they also looked at the genes that were turned on and off during a lifestyle intervention, healthy plant-based diet, reducing stress, and some exercise. And they found in the course of this study that they turned on and off almost 500 genes. By making lifestyle choices, they turned off 453 genes associated with inflammation, disease, progression of disease. And they turned on almost another 50 genes that enhanced health, optimized cell function, reduced inflammation.
Wow.
Just with the choices they made.
So the switch is in your hand. If we want to make it very
Or your fork
Yeah.
and knife, that's
Yeah.
right.
I want our audience, the switch is in your hand. The switch is in your kitchen. The
Yes.
switch is in the choices you make.
Think of fork and knife.
That's right.
Amazing, isn't it?
That's right. An instrument that can take your life or strengthen or
Yes.
preserve or reverse. It can reverse your destiny. Because if I'm hearing you correctly, and this is something I sat and listened, I always have to listen to learn something. I go back home and repeat it to my wife when I hear about it. But this idea of the genome, what did you talk about?
The genome.
The epigenetics, okay, which is on top of the gene, is a practice. It's a choice you make.
It's a habit.
It's a habit.
That's right.
You know, a choice repeated becomes a habit, habit becomes a practice, practice, you know, the whole bit becomes your destiny. So you're in essence saying, if a person says, well, my family has suffered from, you know, diabetes all their lives, so I'm just predisposed, I just might as well enjoy the ride as long as I can. We're saying that's not true.
And that happens all too often. People say,
They give up.
Yeah.
I picked the
my
wrong
family.
parents.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's my parents' fault. No, 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 no. You know what happens? You're not just passing on the genes from one generation to the next. You're passing also on the recipes from one generation to the next.
Okay.
You notice that usually happens in families?
Right, they cook the same.
That's
My mama
exactly
cooks this
right.
way, the daughter cooks
Yes.
that way.
So there are very many complex issues here. It could be genetics, it could be habits that have been passed on, but we have a choice. We can make a decision towards health. Fork and knife, they don't have to be weapons of mass destruction.
Okay.
They can also become instruments of health and healing and hope.
What do you say to those who are trying to lose weight?
I like to always start with a message of hope, that there is a way to have an optimal weight
Yes.
and a full plate. And I think that's really
like that.
important because we have grown up in this diet industry, going all the way back into the late 1800s when the first diet book was produced. And we've had a number of diet books since that time. We've had all kinds of crazy diets.
You know,
From the cabbage soup diet, the
Oh,
cookie
yeah.
diet,
To
and
the
even a
high-
tapeworm diet where you can
Yeah.
swallow a tapeworm and be
yeah.
guaranteed to lose weight and have a friend for the rest of your life.
have somebody else do the eating for you. If you don't want to eat away that fat, we have a friend that will do it for you. And then it's amazing, I'm listening, I don't know if it has any connection at all, but the word diet is spelled D-I-E.
Correct.
First.
Yeah, it's not a live it, it's a diet, right?
Yes, something's got to die somewhere in order for you to make it. Your habits have to die. And this, you made a good point, because many of the things nowadays that are pushed on television, you know, we'll send it to your door, we'll prepackage your food, it'll show up, just eat what we give you.
Yeah.
And my wife mentioned this. She said, but I'm not going to order that because I'm not going to do that for the rest of my life.
No.
That is right.
No.
It has to be something that's adaptable to you for the rest of your life.
That's right.
We always tell people, get away from the scale. Don't worry about the scale. When you want to lose weight, eat for health.
Okay.
And the scale will take care of itself.
I like that.
And you see, as you are eating for health, everything else will fall into place. And to lose weight is not really that much of a mystery. It's just clothed and cloaked and surrounded by mystery, as if you have to have this magic or this magic, and then everything is going to be fine. No, it's very, very simple, actually. I tell my people, you want to lose weight? Cut back on foods that have nutrition labels.
That has nutritional labels.
Correct. You know, you have nutrition labels on foods that have been prepared, engineered, manufactured, and so on. And then also be a little careful with foods that have warning labels. Like when you go to the meat counter, you buy your chicken, there's always a warning label. Be sure you wash everything. There's salmonella and so on. Be a little careful with animal products. And then begin to focus more on all the wonderful fruits and vegetables.
I love those.
All the colors that you have there.
The things that you can eat a lot of and not have to worry about.
Yeah, and then eat more whole grains. There are so many different grains. And then you have 50 different kinds, at least, of beans.
Oh, beans, yes.
But what's going to happen to the economy if we stop eating all the stuff that's prepackaged and stop stopping at all these fast food places? Is the economy not going to bottom out if we just don't support these industries?
The medical system would be suffering.
And I said that. You caught it.
Pharmaceutical, too.
You caught it. And I said that because we want to go on vacation instead of our doctors. Now, I like you going on vacation, but I'd rather go on vacation than send you on vacation.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
That's true.
And we like to travel. But it doesn't. We travel, and thank the Lord, we've been very healthy and we've been enjoying ourselves. But there's a segment of society, and I want to get back to the plantrition, because plan and trition, it's the word nutrition with a plan. Let's talk about that, nutrition with a plan. Am I joining them together?
Yes, it's several things. It's several plays on words. You're right. It's nutrition and a plan. It's plant-based physicians.
Okay.
So it can work in many different ways.
How can someone find out about the Plantrition Project?
So the Plantrition Project, online, www.plantritionproject.org is the website. We have an annual conference every year where we've made it available to healthcare practitioners from around the world. And we'll have well over 1,000 healthcare practitioners from 30 countries this year at our conference in San Diego.
So physicians then could also become a part of that.
Yes, that's our intention, is to be able to help encourage, empower, educate, inspire healthcare practitioners that they can help their patients overcome disease. And so many of us went to medical school and went into medicine because, you know, in our interviews in medical school, we said, we want to help people. And this awakens that within these healthcare practitioners. They can actually help their patients get better, set them free, and at the end of a lot of my physician visits, I tell my patients, you don't need to see me anymore. And it is so wonderful to see the smile on their face and to know that they've been set free from something that had held them down for so long.
And you know, I think many physicians that are coming to your conference, which is growing year after year after year. Many of these, especially these younger physicians, they just don't want to be extenders of the pharmaceutical industry when it comes to these chronic diseases.
Okay.
I mean, if you have an infectious disease, I mean, don't come to me and ask me how much broccoli should I eat. You know, you get some antibiotics and you're being okay probably in 5, 7, 10 days. But when it comes to these chronic diseases like heart disease, and you talked about overweight, and high blood pressure,
diabetes,
and arthritis, and diabetes, which is really on the rise in a frightening manner, you know, then we have to begin to think differently. And that's why I think there's a real awakening in the medical community now too, because we want to have satisfaction, professional satisfaction. We want to see people getting well rather than a patient comes in and I will have you for the rest of your life until you die. That might be good for business,
Yeah.
right? But it's not what we really want, is it?
And the good news is, as you said, there's an awakening in healthcare all around the world, because many people are starting to look at our current system and coming to the realization this is not sustainable. It's not sustainable financially. Lots of physicians are having burnout because they're under so much duress every day, taking care of electronic health records and bureaucracy and seeing patients every 10 minutes. It's not why they went into medicine either. And so I was just at a healthcare system in Indianapolis yesterday, meeting with the CEO of the largest healthcare system in downtown Indianapolis, Eskenazi Health, and they are transforming their healthcare system. They are instituting lifestyle medicine and hope to make that available through all of their primary care physician offices to the entire population of Indianapolis. They have a rooftop garden where they're growing food and serving it into the patient rooms.
Wow.
They currently source 50% of the food for the hospital locally from local farmers, and they hope to make that 100%.
Now, what would happen in America if that really caught on in places where, and as I speak about that, I think that one of the reasons why we don't hear about this so much is because the dollar is the driving factor in America. You know, we're an economy. And how am I going to make it if the pharmaceutical industry is not marketing and getting their, and as you said, for diseases that need it, yes, we understand that. But where the change could come in, where there could be a difference, we don't need to make our food our medicine, but make our, did I say that? Make our medicine our food, but our food should become our medicine.
Right.
Where it can make a difference.
You know, we have to really be aware when it comes to these chronic diseases where we can improve the quality of life we can diminish the pain that people have. And so these drugs are very helpful, but they don't turn the disease around. Once you're on these medications, you're on these medications for the rest of your life when it comes to chronic disease. When you have diabetes, you know, you start with medication 1, medication 2, a new medication comes in, another one falls by the wayside, and before you know it, after 5, 6, 7 years, you are being placed on insulin. So you take 10 units of insulin, then the next year you take 30 units of insulin, then you take 100 units of insulin, you take 150 units of insulin, and you die with insulin in your system. You have not really stopped the disease. And these are the kind of things that I think, especially our younger physician, they're looking for. I want to help these people turn the disease around. I'm here to help, not just to put them on medication and monitor the medication for the rest of their lives that goes up and up and up and up. And besides, do you realize that the #1 cause of bankruptcy in this country is medical costs of people who are not prepared to pay the medical bills?
Wow.
A bypass, $150,000.
Not much.
You have one of these stents placed in because you have angina pain, heart disease, $25,000, $35,000. And they don't last because you have not really made the changes in how we created the problem. And that has to do with the diet. Don't you have some slides?
I was just going to
I do have some slides.
Where you show how much sugar we eat?
You never show up without slides. I'm interested to get some more of this education.
Yes,
Walk us
absolutely.
through.
Can we show that?
We can go through some slides. Absolutely.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes.
Hans. So this is our first slide, and it kind of covers some of the information that we actually talked about earlier in the program, that 75% of the healthcare spending is attributed to chronic disease and lifestyle. Just this year, 2017, the World Health Organization classified processed meat as a Class 1 carcinogen. Do you know what else is in that class?
Wow.
Cigarettes.
Cigarettes.
That's right.
So,
wait a minute. What do you really mean? Class 1 carcinogen.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So because it's in Class 1, that means that it has been shown to cause cancer. There's a direct correlation between consuming processed meat and cancer.
So it's a little bit like this. When you smoke, every second smoker can expect to end up with lung cancer.
Yep.
Every second person. There's a cause and effect. Not just a correlation, not just some association, but if you're a smoker, the chances are dramatically increased. Every second smoker will die from lung cancer. The same thing is now being announced by the World Health Organization. They said, these processed meats, what do you mean by processed meats?
It's bacon, it's lunch meats, it's hot dogs.
So,
It's all.
so
big seller.
just like smoking causes lung cancer. So we're now saying no longer there's some kind of relationship there. We say no, processed meats actually are the cause of colon cancer. The more you consume of these foods, the more likelihood is there that these will end up in colon cancers. There's a dose response relationship there.
Wow.
The more, the more. This is pretty scary. And meats are coming sort of up there. They're very concerned about this too. The World Health Organization says that red meats are probably carcinogenic.
Wow.
So they're saying it very, very carefully. They said as the data comes in, we'll keep you updated on some of these relationships. Cause and effect, processed meat, and colon cancer.
I'm glad you said World Health Organization, because when that slide came up, it said WHO.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, who said that?
Who said that?
It did.
There was some more information that you're going to share with us on that same slide,
Yes, we
correct?
can
there's some
continue.
more.
And the World Cancer Research Fund has said that at least 30% of all cancers are preventable with a plant-based diet and some activity.
Wow.
Significant. And it goes much higher than that when we talk about stopping smoking and other habits. And then finally, the Imperial College of London in 2017 showed that there's a maximum protection when you eat 10 servings of fruits and vegetables. 10 servings, not just 5.
10.
Yeah,
I
10.
hear you, honey.
And 90% of people are aware of this. They actually have done some research. Most people know they should be eating 5 servings or more every day, but only 34% are eating 2.
My wife is always telling me about that. She said, I buy the apples, and you don't eat them. I said, honey, if you cut them, I'll eat them.
Yesterday I ate
She
an
was
apple.
eating an apple in the car. I said,
Yeah.
that sounds good. Give it to me.
And I gave him my apple. He says, oh, Angie, the way you eat it, yum.
It just sounds, I don't know, why is that, though? Why is it that we know these things are good for us, but we are kind of shellacked and refrigerated and freeze-dried against that? I mean,
You know, your
crazy.
wife, my wife and you have something in common.
Uh-oh, what's
So
that?
It's the same thing. You know what I do?
What?
I usually make the breakfast in my family. I do. It's easy to do and
Yes.
makes me feel good. I grate these apples and put them into the hot cereal. You know, I mean, you put
Okay.
it down and
yes.
put in there as a layer.
Yes.
She loves it because it moistens it. It's
a good
nice.
idea.
Maybe there's
did
a.
you hear that, honey? Maybe that's a chance that I could...
Why don't you call Lily, ask her, say, Hans revealed some special secrets how you eat your apples.
You might want to put that in a book. Makes the Hans breakfast deals, you know, the deal for breakfast. But that's interesting, Dr. Stoll, that these, I mean, you don't think about, see, the lunch industry, everything, that's once again, parents don't have time to make the lunch for the kids, buy some lunch meats, cut it up, the kids, and what's happening
processed
nowadays,
cheese.
with what else?
Processed cheese with it.
Yeah, everything is processed.
Yeah, we really worry about that, you know, especially this whole issue of cheese. That really has become a great concern because cheese is today everywhere.
That's
It's
right.
just like sugar. You find almost
Right.
everywhere. It seems to hold our culture together. It's sort of a glue, the cheese.
Cheese, sugar, and pork. When you hear the word club, if you hear the word club, if sandwiches is club
sandwich.
sandwich, it's bacon in it.
That's right.
The word club means ham or bacon. So I've noticed that too.
Yeah. So, you know, this cheese is so prominent today
It is.
that it has become the #1 source of saturated fat. Now, saturated fat, is saturated fat really that bad?
I don't do
Depends on who you ask today, right? But you and I would agree, saturated fat is not good for you. Causes inflammation in the body and inflammation in the arteries.
Saturation is the #1 driver of cholesterol produced by the body. The saturated fat influences the liver, which makes cholesterol in a very prominent fashion. It's the #1 driver of pushing the cholesterol levels up in our society. So saturated fat is a big, big thing. And it's usually found in animal products. But you know what I find when on the lecture circuit? I'm absolutely amazed. Today, people come to me and said, what about coconut oil?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's not an animal fat, is it? I said, no, it's not. Well, that's good, isn't it? I said, wait a minute. When it comes to coconut oil, we recommend it very highly.
because that's what I
You're
use.
right. Put it on your skin.
Oh.
Put it on your scalp. Never eat it. Because that's 92% saturated, twice as much as perhaps a piece of beef.
What?
And yet people say, well,
Okay.
I can't believe this. Marketing.
And
You just blew me out of the water. Did you know that?
Did I really?
Because
I cook
Didn't mean
with
to do that.
coconut oil.
it's a West
and olive.
It's it's
I'm a
culturally
Caribbean.
used in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Coconut oil,
Yeah.
coconut.
I want to save you that heart bypass.
I'm listening.
I just bought some yesterday.
And something else about oils, including coconut oil, especially going back to our earlier conversation about weight loss. Every tablespoon of oil is 120 calories.
Wow, one tablespoon.
One tablespoon. So I often will have people come to my office and say, Dr. Stoll, I'm doing everything you told me to do and I still can't lose weight. And I start with oil. Well, let's add up how many tablespoons of oil you might be eating in a day. And I ask them, well, show me how you cook with coconut oil or olive oil.
Yeah, how's olive oil?
And this is how everybody cooks like this. You dump it in. And so I'll work through that with them, and we find out they're eating 5-6 tablespoons of oil a day, which is 600 to 700 extra calories. That goes right in your body, and I always tell my patients, lips to hips in 3 minutes, because it's perfectly prepared for storage. So your body takes it in and sends it right out to storage. They're empty calories. They don't have nutrition. They don't have fiber. Nothing that would help to optimize your cellular function.
Wow, wait a minute. We can't get away from that, Dr. Diehl. Did you hear that, friends? Lips to hips in 3 minutes. Boy, that's scary. You're really revolutionizing this program on planned nutrition. Honey, we got to make some changes in our own diet. As healthy as we look, they have told us that we're not as healthy as we look.
No.
Something's going on the inside. That's a time bomb if we're not paying attention to it. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
That's right. Little things can add up over time. Most of these diseases are incremental, and it's accumulated injury over time.
Dr. Diehl,
So people come to me and say, well, God made the coconuts. I said, you're right. God made the coconuts. Man made the coconut oil.
Okay.
The Heart Association now says, put it on your skin, don't put it inside. Heart Association.
They say that?
Yeah.
What about if you grate the coconut?
That's fine.
Because it's a fresh coconut.
It's a whole food.
Right.
That's much better. So if you grate it and put it into the rice and all, that's
fine.
good.
It's when you extract it, that's when you concentrate those calories. That's a very good point that you made there earlier. You talked about oils. Every teaspoon has 120 calories. So therefore, there's not really a good oil if you want to lose weight.
That's correct.
Because even if it's a good oil as we think of it, for weight management, it's never good. Right?
That's correct. There's a neat concept that was discovered by Dr. Barbara Rolls at Penn State University called calorie density. And it really helps us to understand how to eat. And the basic science said if you can eat a diet that is basically 600 calories per pound, you can eat as much food as you want and maintain a normal, healthy body weight. So if we look at everything that is 600 calories per pound, guess what we find in that category? Whole plant foods. Beans and grains like quinoa, fruits and vegetables and potatoes and sweet potatoes, all of those foods are 600 calories or less.
So if I'm getting 600 calories per pound, so in other words, what you're saying is if you weigh the food, 1 pound of that food, if you could get 600 calories if you're going whole grains, fruits, vegetables, all of that, not 600 calories per your pound.
That's right, 600 calories per pound of food.
Oh, gotcha.
That's right, of those types of food.
Okay.
Then as we slide above that
food.
line,
That's a lot.
It is a lot, but that's what leads to the abundance. That's, as we said earlier, it's a full plate. And that's the beautiful part, because most diets are built on starvation and restriction and deprivation and things that none of us would want to do long term, or buying meals or buying powders or bars.
Let's make it palatable. Do you know how much broccoli you could eat? Do you know how much lettuce and greens and spinach and green peppers and yellow peppers? Honey, now my wife and I don't know why the Lord had a reason for us to get on this program tonight. And I know that some of you are driving in your car and you're probably saying, I know I heard some things that I don't like, but if I want to live long, to enjoy life, I have to do what the doctor says. And these doctors are not prescribing, take a pill and call me in the morning.
No.
They're not saying, hey, go to your physician and tell them give you a shot and you'll make it overnight. They're saying, wait a minute, plantrition, plan to be healthy. What's the saying? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so many of us are driven by what the local fast food place, they're planning our diets. The saturated meats, they're planning our diets. The prepackaged
planning our
foods,
death.
they're planning the dietary people.
They're planning our death.
They're planning our death. And they're saying, just pay us. We'll be fine. And we're telling you, you'll be fine if you just let us plan your future. Honey, if this program were to say anything, it's saying, take your future back into your hand and into your kitchen.
And save money. You can reduce your food bill by 30 to 40% as you move more towards whole foods, plant food-centered foods, because they're usually inexpensive. The moment you take the potato, turn it into potato chips.
Oh, don't say that.
You know what happens?
I know.
Did I strike a raw nerve?
Oh, yeah,
No,
you did. You did.
I have to give up my barbecue potato chips.
Come on.
I'm confessing it's hurting.
Good for the soul.
I preach great, but I'm still living differently.
His weakness is barbecue potato chips.
I got to get barbecue potatoes. This is really wrecking my evening here. But I know that some of you feel the same way I do. Welcome back to the second hour of As Your World Tumbles. Actually, that's not the program.
Honey.
If you're just tuning in, that's not the program. It's a Plantrition Project. We have Dr. Scott Stoll and Dr. Hans Diehl. If you're driving in the car and you missed the first hour, I must say I feel badly for you.
So good.
But you can get it if you contact us here at 3ABN at 3ABN.org or call 618-627-4651. Honey, he has been telling us how to be healthy, but he has been destroying some of my recipes.
Good.
Good.
Yes, the potato chips.
potato
and
chip.
mine, the coconut oil.
That's right. So we want to live longer. I mean, we've been married 35 years. We want to look as pretty as we do and handsome as we do for much longer.
We want to be in good health.
We don't want to just look good on the outside. We want to be healthy on the inside.
We show people how to eat more, have a full plate, and lose weight. You talked about that too, right?
That's right.
You talked about those 600 calories that you can have in terms of whole foods versus compressed calories, just a small amount, and they don't really satisfy you. So overweight, you can turn around diabetes. Most people can turn diabetes type 2 around in weeks if they just make the shift towards the kind of diet that you're talking about. And maybe we can talk about that a little bit more when you have some of the other slides. And then, of course, high blood pressure. 83% of the people with moderately high blood pressure can turn them off in 3 to 4 to 5 weeks.
That's right.
All they have to go is take a look at the CHIP program, the Complete Health Improvement
still doing
Program.
that?
Oh, yes, it's going
right.
worldwide. And then we talked about heart disease. We can turn it around. And especially if you had heart disease, we can open up the arteries again. And if you had a bypass, we can keep it open longer, much longer. But it all depends on what do we put at the end of the fork and knife and spoon.
And fingers. If you're eating chips.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Stoll. Merciful.
That's a good
I wanted
one.
to share some good news with you, too, and with the listeners, that you don't have to sacrifice taste.
Okay.
It's so important to understand that. You know, sometimes when we think about healthy food, we think of a big pile of lettuce or salad
steel wool
and, you know, broccoli.
Yeah.
But the food is so delicious. And there are some marvelous ways to prepare food, especially whole plant foods. So you get a wide diversity of flavors and tastes, and it's actually more delicious than the Western diet.
You know, the other thing that I might want to add here is that also our taste buds begin to change within 2 to 3 weeks. The taste buds renew themselves, so the old taste buds that have been perverted by this intense salt, sugar, fat taste in our diet, they begin to become replaced, and the new taste buds are coming up. Give it 2 to 3 weeks, and you will no longer miss, well, maybe a little bit, you'll have a little hankering here and there, but you're becoming less and less concerned about the foods that you are willing to die for.
Right.
Literally.
I mean, that's just a scary phrase, willing to die for it. And because there's some people that are willing to die, I mean, they're just eating. That's a very important point, because what I was going to bring up a moment ago was, why are people afraid to try something new?
They're afraid they're missing out on foods that are very important to them, and that is true.
Yeah.
We eat not just for taste, we eat because of emotions, we eat because of family things, because of memories. You remember that special date that you had with your wife, and you had this special, you know, these are all influences, but taste begins to change. And you know, I've been doing this for the last 35 years. I mean, if I would really go back to what I used to have, I couldn't enjoy it.
No.
You give me some ice cream, some Haagen-Dazs ice cream, any kind of ice cream that I used to have when I came from Germany and I landed in Montreal. We had nothing after the war years in Germany. When I came to Canada, I made up for lost time.
Wow.
Half a pint, half a gallon.
You?
Yes! And then as I became more and more involved in health and nutrition, and how to use nutrition to reverse disease, I began to change, just like you're changing now. You see, you won't enjoy those barbecued potato chips anymore after you know what's happening up here.
You can see me changing right in front of you.
Yes! I mean, the brain is conditioning this.
You're right.
And after about 2 or 3 weeks, you know, if I have an ice cream cone now, I may take a lick or two, and I said to my wife, it's too sweet.
Too sweet.
I used to love it.
You know, I never thought about that.
What's that?
Somebody said to me they got off of sugar for a couple of months, and they went back, and it made them sick.
That's right.
Because it was too sweet.
That's right, because the taste buds begin to change. And you begin to appreciate the tastes of foods that you didn't like before. We've even found that, you know, sometimes children, and even our children, we still do this today. I had one son that didn't like mushrooms. And so we would weave mushrooms into our meals in small amounts, and we would encourage them to eat just one bite of mushrooms. And over the course of a few months, his taste buds started to change, and he started to like and eat mushrooms on a regular basis.
Mushroom.
He became mushroom. Because it's that beautiful thing that God puts inside of us, that we're adaptable, we can change, and we can learn to appreciate the things that He's given to us.
Wow. I never thought about that, because what you're saying, I've often applied to people that smoke or drink or take drugs. I never applied it to the way we eat. Because I know my sister got a new kidney, and she was told, because she was with the fire department, she was at World Trade Center when the whole thing fell, and a lot of things happened as a result of all these things she breathed in. And but they said, if you want to survive, you have to quit smoking. She stopped cold turkey. Now she says to me, the very smell of smoke makes her sick.
That's right.
She said, just the scent of it, I can't be around people that smoke. And she smoked for years. But she said, I had to make a choice between living with a new kidney that could sustain my life, or not getting that new kidney because they told me if I keep smoking, they're not going to give it to me. So she quit the smoking. She said, now the scent of smoke makes her sick. And other people have said that, people that have stopped smoking. My mother, before she deceased, when she quit smoking, she started gaining weight because she said she could taste the food now, and it tastes good. Whereas the coating, and this is where I'm going with it. So what you're saying is what we eat tend to pervert, that's the word you use, our taste buds to want more and more salt, because that's what we get our taste buds used to. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the food industry knows exactly through brain research of how much salt to put into a potato chip. They know exactly how much sugar to put into an Oreo, so that within less than a split second after it is hitting your taste buds, the information is being sent to the brain, to the pleasure center. And the pleasurable experience is so high that you cannot settle for one finger, for one potato chip. You cannot settle for one Oreo, for one cookie. You can't, because the sugar and the salt and also the fat content have a powerful effect in creating this wonderful, pleasurable experience that causes you to reach out for the next one. They've done this with rats. And if you give rats an option between choosing between heroin and sugar, guess what they're going to choose?
Sugar.
Sugar, yeah. So we have
so we have been played.
Yes.
If you say it that way, we've been played for the money.
Well, we have underestimated the fact that there's a habituation taking place with excessive amount of salt and sugar, and perhaps also the fat that is in the food.
It says, what can I do if I'm already in stage 3 cancer? What can they do to reverse that? Is there anything what you could suggest?
Well, I think we want to be a little bit reserved about what we can really pronounce. I think we want to give hope to people.
Yes.
But to what extent we can justify that hope, I think it would take more research to really become more definitive, isn't it? There are some people that have had some good experience in certain cancers.
Yes.
But I think we're a little bit like we used to be in heart disease in the 1970s.
Right.
We thought, well, maybe we can reverse heart disease. We can open up these arteries again. And then people said, no. We don't have enough research yet. And that was true. So we said, well, maybe, maybe not. But as the research came out, now we can actually declare most heart disease affecting the inner portions of the coronary arteries is reversible if people are willing to make the kind of dietary changes that we are recommending in this book, U-Turn.
That's right. I agree. And I always recommend to my patients that are struggling with cancer that nutrition and lifestyle are supportive and that they work with their oncologist.
Oh, good.
And we also pray for them. And so we pray in Jesus' name for healing for this person that sent that request in. We lift them up in prayer because Jesus can heal.
Amen.
And the other thing, and I'm glad you're cautious about that, because if you were to give some kind of prescription, so to speak, over the air, you know, you're offsetting what maybe their medical professionals are guiding them to do, and then in reality you don't even know what kind of cancer and what the cause of that cancer really is.
No.
So we have to guard that in some sense. But I think that nutritional aspects of what we talked about, and I thank you for that, Dr. Stoll.
I like your idea of diet, food can be very supportive in strengthening the body's ability to fight this cancer.
We're working with a gentleman right now that has pancreatic cancer. And he's going through treatment, but he's also radically changed his diet, and he's had no adverse side effects from the chemotherapy and radiation. And his physicians are amazed at how well he is doing. The tumors are shrinking, and he's doing incredibly well. They said they've never seen anybody go through the treatment so well. And I really believe it's the lifestyle choices that he's making.
Yes.
You know, there are a lot of discoveries that we're making now since the, shall we call it, lifestyle medicine concepts emerged in the 1980s and so on, 1980s. For instance, now we begin to see that some people actually with MS, multiple sclerosis, which we thought there's nothing that we can do about it. We have medications, but they really don't really affect the disease process. But now there are cases coming up more and more, and we think this will begin perhaps another trend where we begin to see more and more and establish the fact that there is a potential therapeutic aspect to multiple sclerosis. Have you had any MS patients?
I do, and I actually brought a slide to tell a story.
Let's see.
And Marcy Madrid and her husband will see in just a moment when they put the slide up. Marcy is actually a vice president of hospital affairs at Midland, Texas. And it's a hospital that I was blessed to start working with 4 years ago. And Marcy's a mother of 6 children and a vice president, very active, busy with soccer. And she started to notice that her legs were numb. She was getting numbness in her hands and thought it was related to stress. And she went in and had an evaluation, and the MRI showed inflammatory lesions in her brain and in her spinal cord. And essentially, MS is an autoimmune disease. Your immune system begins attacking your own body, and so that's what we were seeing on the MRI. It was chewing up her brain and her spinal cord. And we can see the MRI here, and the red circle that
Wait a
we
minute,
see.
what are you showing there?
Yes, on the...
Explain it to the viewers.
So the viewers will look at the one that we're seeing on our left, the red circle with the white spot in the middle.
What is it? This is the brain?
So this is a brain MRI. Yes. So an MRI of the brain, and it's like we took a slice through the top of the head. So we're looking down on the top of the head toward the feet. And so the top that we see there is the front of the brain, and the back of down lower is the back of the brain. And we see a red circle there with a white spot in the middle. And that's an area of inflammation where the immune system has been attacking the brain and causing damage. And as the brain is damaged, you start to develop numbness, tingling, weakness, double vision, all kinds of problems associated with multiple sclerosis. Marcy tried the medications that her neurologist recommended, and she had a lot of side effects. Her hair started to fall out. She couldn't tolerate them. She was thinking about that she needed to step back from work. It was really becoming a problem. And her husband was having to take over the lion's share of the work at home. He was doing the cooking, the cleaning, taking care of all the children because Marcy was sick. And again, that goes back to that issue, how disease impacts those most important things in our life.
That's right.
So Marcy heard the news about whole plant-based nutrition.
Right.
And believed that this was an answer that she had been praying for. So she changed her diet. And she started eating lots of dark leafy greens and broccoli and cruciferous vegetables and whole fruits, blueberries and strawberries and lots of spices that we all love to eat. And she made these delicious meals, and she ate as much as she wanted. And little by little, she started to feel better. And her symptoms began to resolve, and the numbness and tingling resolved. And she got her strength back. And if we can go back to the slide on the MRI, we can see the resolution of her findings there. Again, on the right side, we see the same circle, but in the middle, there's no white spot.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's gone.
The inflammation has completely resolved.
Wow.
And she took these MRIs to her physician in Dallas, Texas, who's one of the leaders in researching multiple sclerosis. And he said to her, "I've never seen this before in my entire life.
Wow.
This is the first time that I've ever seen a person with multiple sclerosis reverse their disease and not require any treatment."
Wow.
And he became so excited about this that he changed his diet, and he started researching the use of whole plant food diet and lifestyle in treatment of his MS patients. If we can go to the next slide right after this, I think this is so important. This is why Marcy did it. And it's important to realize that because she is healed and her symptoms are resolved, now she can care for this beautiful family.
Yes.
Wow.
And she can be the mom that they want her to be. She can meet all of their needs. She can lead them and read the Bible to them and teach them. She can help, support them in their soccer activities. She travels with them. And so she has an abundant life now.
Wow, that word abundant life is important because Jesus said, "I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly."
That's right.
If you go back to one of the examples in the Old Testament of abundant life, was the Hebrews, when they just said, "Give me 10 days and examine me, give me fruits, grains, nuts, and water to drink, and give me 10 days. And they became fairer and wiser and healthier. And so we're saying what they left as an example is true to today. Thousands of years later, it still works.
You know, this is a very inspiring story. I heard her speak. She's an outstanding speaker.
Yes.
But the most important part is that she said, my doctor now is inspired, and he is pursuing this as a research project. That's what medicine was supposed to be, isn't it?
That's right.
To provide a rewarding satisfaction that we can make a difference in people's lives.
That's right.
Here's another question. I mean, that's true. What you're talking about here, the plantrition, could be, it is a revolution. It's starting a new revolution. I've never heard the term before, which means we've just been assimilated. We've just been absorbed into plantrition to really plan our nutrition. And so many other words. I love the way you play on the words there. But it does really make sense when you think about the value of life. I've never seen anyone in the hospital that said, I wish, when they're on their deathbed or their life is slipping away, they've never said, I wish I worked more, or wish I had more money, or wish I had a faster car. They said, if I could just have a little bit more time. And what you're saying, in essence, the greatest gift we've been given is time. We could determine how, by just our own choices, because there's a text about why die before your time, and I think that's what it means.
Yeah.
You don't need to die when you're young. You don't need to have heart disease. You don't need to be losing your eyesight when you're young, or before, so to speak, the time, which none of us knows, but we could live healthier lives, and I appreciate that. And this person here, okay, I open the door. Go ahead, Dr. Diehl.
You know, it's not just the dying.
Right.
It's that we are dying progressively. You know, American people, by the time they're 55 years of age, blood pressures go up, cholesterol numbers go up, girth goes up, vision diminishes, mental memory function diminishes, hearing loss takes place, and we think, well, we're getting older. No, these are the accumulation of the lifestyle-related effects that are taking place, which cause an inflammation and narrowing of the circulatory system in our body.
Right.
Since this is affecting all of the systems of the body, because we have a circulatory system going everywhere, we can affect all of these aspects of the body with one swoop by making a change in how we eat and exercise, get enough sleep, and handle our stresses properly, because it affects all of these. In contrast, a medication is very specific for one particular area. For instance, if you have high blood pressure medication, it takes care of certain enzyme systems that affects the blood pressure. When you have heart disease, you take a medication for cholesterol. It does only one thing, that drug. It lowers the cholesterol by and large. When you do the dietary therapy, the plant nutrition workshop, right? Plant-centered, then you affect the whole system all in one swoop, and you don't have to be on 10 or 15 or 20 medications like we have nowadays. So this is the big difference between the pharmaceutical approach for these chronic diseases in contrast to the holistic approach and making some changes in how we live, because how we live largely determines how we die and when.
Wow, wow. So don't paint the kitchen if the house is on fire.
That's true.
See, don't paint the kitchen. Don't paint the kitchen if the house is on fire. In other words, don't settle for just the medication when you can affect the entire house. When you can say, you know, what's the phrase? We love that show, Extreme Makeover.
Oh, yeah.
We love the House Channel. My wife and I like to watch innocuous shows, Home and Garden. We just enjoy it when we see the kitchen, what it was,
make it over,
and what it became, and we say,
they renovate
man, these people have vision. What we're telling you then, in the very same vernacular, the very same strain, is that's what you can do with your body.
Amen.
You know, you only get one.
We're fearfully and wonderfully made.
You can't go to Toyota and buy a new body. You can buy a new car. You can't go to the hospital and buy a new body, but even though we've been manufacturing parts. But when the whole thing starts falling apart, don't paint the kitchen if the house is on fire. What we're talking about on the program tonight, if you're watching, you can see it, but if you're driving your car, we're talking about how to transform, how to revolutionize. 2018, the answer is revolution. It could start in your kitchen. It could start at the end of your fork, your spoon, your knife. And Dr. Diehl and Dr. Stoll is talking about that, the Plant Nutrition Project. And also, Dr. Diehl has been talking about this for a long time.
This has to do with
lifestyle
plant
medicine.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
You know, you talked about MS, multiple sclerosis. Right. I wonder, you know, I brought a short video clip about 2 minutes. Is that something that we can maybe show right now?
Yeah, as they bring it up.
Because it alludes to that as well. I just sort of thought about that. That might be of interest.
The two largest employees in Lee County, the school board and the Lee Memorial Health System, say they found a way to save you, the taxpayer, money. And they're doing it one fork at a time. They say they found a lifestyle program that is taking a bite out of the high cost of health care and at the same time making you feel better. And to quote executives, the results are simply amazing.
And a lot of people are noticing that I just look and feel better, so that's all positive.
Brian Ebers, a department director for the Lee County school system, lives with MS. Until a few weeks ago, he couldn't walk without a cane, but he doesn't need it anymore.
I feel better, and so I've decided that I'm going to leave that behind for a while and see how it goes.
That's because Brian is a student of CHIP, the Complete Health Improvement Program. It's where people are taught to eat meals that are plant-based, and Brian says it's a program that works.
The only reason I do this is because it gives me an opportunity to give people hope. People don't have hope anymore. They've tried and failed.
Kathy Raynard is a CHIP instructor. She explains why the more emphasis you put on vegetables, beans, and grains, and the less on meat and dairy, the better you'll feel. You can reverse chronic diseases like hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes.
You can choose to eat what you want, but the education kind of helps people see that what they've been doing potentially is the reason for their chronic disease, and they have the ability to change that.
So people like Brian aren't just walking and feeling better, they're spending less money on health care. Human Resource Director Angela Pruitt says that's saving the school system a lot of money.
4% of our employees result in 47% of our health care costs.
So along with the school district, Lee Memorial Health System put the CHIP program to the test. What they discovered was a remarkable turnaround with the health of their employees. After 12 months, for every dollar LMHS spent on helping employees live a plant-strong diet, they saved $2 in healthcare costs, with some added benefits.
One of the things that they've told us is that their energy level had increased dramatically. So we know that from that perspective, they take less time off from work, they are more productive on the job.
The two largest employers in Lee County say you can't argue with success like Brian, and they want to give all their employees the opportunity to be healthy by choice, not by chance.
You can't argue with that documentary.
No.
This is a recognition of what's happening behind the scenes. And as we talked about, notice 4% of the people accounted for 47%
Wow.
of the revenue going towards health, going towards the symptoms, the preventions, the diseases that their employees were being ailed by. And then when they changed, they went to the CHIP program, they started noticing feeling better, losing weight. That means more productivity.
Yeah.
People are not going home.
That's right.
They're on the job. And then look at that story about MS.
Oh,
I've never
wow.
heard about anything
No,
that affects
no.
MS that way.
Me neither. Just from the way you eat, changing your lifestyle, right?
That's right.
I
And-
mean, someone want to know, will you please get all your medical short clips on a DVD so we can purchase them? These are the clips shown between programs in 3ABN. I've been mentored by you for many years, Dr. Diehl. I am a doctoral student and would love to have these on a DVD so I can review at my own pace. Can you please air this? Can you please address this on the air?
And the
Her
person's
name
given
is
their
Eula Foster.
Wow.
Is a doctoral student.
These can
These
be
clips.
obtained by going on our website.
That's right.
www.chiphealth.com.
That's right.
And this doctoral student can have access
Yes.
to them, and we
Ah.
encourage you to use them as much as you can.
And this one, the
And
same
this
thing.
is an amazing, this is question. We're not just telling people at home what to do. We're talking about revolutionizing what doctors do.
Yeah.
How doctors treat their patients. How physicians, you know, it's a rhetorical statement. Does a doctor doctor a doctor the way that a doctor doctors? Did you get that? No. Does a doctor doctor a doctor the way that a doctor doctors? And so that rhetorical statement is, you know, it's saying that doctors don't have to doctor the way that a doctor doctors. They could change the way a doctor doctors by
right.
adopting. Don't tell me to say that again. The
Actually,
Planned Nutrition Program.
actually, since you're talking about a revolution,
Yes, a revolution.
I want to talk to you about a velvet revolution.
A what kind
A
of?
velvet
Velvet?
revolution. Velvet.
Velvet.
Velvet means it's bloodless.
Oh, velvet.
A velvet
Oh.
revolution. It's bloodless. It's not a revolution of violence. It's a revolution of the heart, a revolution of the mind, a revolution based on scientific evidence. The revolution has taken place in Lithuania. Lithuania,
Yeah.
way up there,
Yeah, in Europe. Yeah.
below Finland,
Yeah.
close to the Russian border. It used to be part of Russia for a while, became free in the 1990s. In the 1990s, the Eastern Bloc, the Soviet Union, Russia, left the area.
Right.
Lithuania became free. As the East left, the West came in. The West came in with free market concepts, with liberation, with equality of sexes, all good things. But at the same time, it came in with Western foods.
Oh, no.
And today, when you come to Lithuania, you see probably more per capita of these Western fast foods, and particularly those candy bars and the soda pops and so on, so much so that heart disease has doubled in the last 20 years in Lithuania.
What?
As a result, the government spoke with some of the leaders in the lifestyle medicine practitioner movement, and they said, we cannot afford to take care of a heart attack at $150,000 for a bypass. We need to do something else. We need to prevent it. And then they began to understand we can actually suspend it, we can arrest it, we can reverse it. And they said, what we need to do, we need to have a new concept. And here's what they have done. The government just a few months ago announced that they're going to be dividing medical care into two systems. Medical care, traditionally speaking, will take care of what they have always done exceptionally well. Diagnosing disease, acute care, infectious disease, all the things that only medical people can do as well as they do it.
Right.
But they said when it comes to chronic disease, which absorbs 75% of our medical budget, we can no longer afford this to be done by this system. We have to have a new health professional, and they started a new education program called a Master's in Lifestyle Medicine, which will become down the line a doctorate in lifestyle medicine, and the government is now hiring these people to take care of chronic disease like heart disease and so on, where the doctors will diagnose it, but then they would take the program and turn it over to these new health care professionals, not the disease care specialists, but the healthcare specialists, and they've been trained very thoroughly on the master's level and later in the doctoral program in the area of diet, therapy, exercise, psychology, how to motivate people, how to educate people, how to teach them in groups. This is the new concept now. That's a revolution in Lithuania because a small country can no longer afford the high cost of high-tech medicine with the medications and the surgeries. So this is a new concept that is beginning to blossom now out there in Europe, and we'll see what happens.
And you also don't find this among people that are interested in just pushing pharmaceuticals, but people that are looking for a cure, a deliverance from this kind of a lifestyle. And you know what, I want to feel better. And one of the myths is that because you look like you're healthy, that you are healthy. That's a myth, because sometimes a person could be undernourished and not being as healthy as they can be.
You can look good on the outside and rusting out on the inside.
Wow. Wow.
Exactly.
What do you have, honey? What questions do you have for us? Can we do this one here?
Statin drugs, do you know what that is? They're on statins?
Yes,
Statin drugs for 20 years. Can an 83-year-old man get off of them?
Absolutely. I'll tell you a story that will hopefully give hope too. I was just in Texas, and my friend who's a cardiothoracic surgeon at the hospital there was just telling me that he had a man that came to him, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, arteries that had narrowed in his legs so that he couldn't walk more than 2 minutes without pain in his legs. Chest pain on a regular basis. He was taking medications to resolve his chest pain. And at 87, he decided to make a lifestyle change, a U-turn. At 87. Changed his diet at 87, called my friend 4 weeks later and said, you'll never guess what. I can walk for 10 or 15 minutes with no pain in my legs. My chest pain has resolved, my blood pressure is better, and my cholesterol is already starting to go down at 87 years old. And so I would answer a caller that sent the question into us that absolutely it is never too late. And this is the hope-filled story of what God wove into our bodies, this amazing ability of our bodies to heal and this redundancy in our health, that when we do the right thing, we can overcome decades of damage. We can do the wrong thing for so many years, just like with salvation, right? We can do the wrong thing, and we make a U-turn, we make the right choice, and regeneration and new life enter our lives.
And as I get older...
Eat your veggies, honey.
That's right. My wife said to me the other day, I put a lot of broccoli on my plate, and she says, I'm noticing what you're not eating. I'm going to get to it, and I forcefully ate the broccoli.
He doesn't want to eat it.
I'm being educated, honey. They're changing the way I think.
Someone wrote and said, I am a Seventh-day Adventist, and I don't like fruits and vegetables. What do I do? Someone wrote that.
Wow.
What do I do to get to like fruits and vegetables?
You need
what
to
would
get
you say?
Saved.
I would say to that person, the good news is that you can learn to like them. Your taste buds will change. They will change in 2 to 4 weeks, that neuroadaptation. And you can start very simply. One of the things I like to encourage people to start with is a nice smoothie. You know, that's a nice way to introduce some spinach and some berries and maybe even a banana into your diet and begin to change your taste buds through a smoothie. And you can start slow. You can start with maybe a few things you do like and eat one small bite of something that you're going to learn to like. And you know, this is part of renewing our mind. And we can tell ourselves that, yes, I can begin to like those things. You know, changing the language that we speak about ourselves and the language that we speak over our food. We begin to say, you know what, I didn't like them in the past, but I'm going to learn to like them in the future because this is what God's given me for my health.
You know, the principle is life and death are in the power of the tongue.
That's right, the book of James, that's right.
That's right.
And I can do all things
through Christ.
Amen.
And we know that if we pray with a sincere heart, and Jesus said, if you ask and believe, you will receive.
You will receive.
And we know this is according to God's will, that we eat the food that He created. So if we're praying and we say, Lord, I want to learn to like fruits and vegetables, we can know that He will begin changing our tongue.
That's right. You're not just a doctor, you're theological too. Because
I love it.
This is not just medicine.
Pastor John, he's a pastor, so
he's
you
preaching
love
over
this.
here to us.
But you know, let me go back to what we talked about earlier. We talked about be careful, don't eat too often foods that have nutrition labels.
Oh, yeah.
Very important point.
Yes.
Be careful that you don't eat too often foods that have actually warning labels. Have you ever thought about this? God's foods don't need nutrition labels. There's no nutrition label on tomatoes.
Wow.
Or tomato ketchup, is it?
Yeah, there is one.
There's no nutrition label on mangoes, but on mango sauce, isn't it? There's no nutrition label on potatoes, but there is on
potato chips.
Potato chips. There he goes again.
Honey.
Now, isn't it amazing that somehow the government, insisted that there are labels on foods, but they forgot God's created foods?
No.
That's true. The only label you see on a fruit is the price.
That's right.
That's good. But here's a question.
This is a good one.
I'm a senior and I'm a vegetarian. I have to take cortisone shots every week to stop the pain caused by inflammation in different areas of my body. Can you tell me what else I can do to stop the pain and inflammation?
Absolutely. There's an important distinction here because I saw this often in my practice, that just because there is a vegan vegetarian, and this is not speaking directly to this person that sent this question in, but in general, vegan vegetarian does not always equal health. I saw many vegans and vegetarians that came and they were very unhealthy because they made a decision not to eat animal products, but they made other decisions to eat lots of processed food, lots of foods with white rice, white flour, sugar, and salt. They ate lots of sugar-sweetened beverages. So they ate a lot of things that were causing inflammation in their body. And processed food, white flour, white sugar, all cause inflammation within the body in just 3 or 4 hours after eating the food.
Wow. Oh, man. So you're saying... Go ahead.
No, please, go ahead.
So you're saying then, so the food you eat could make you bloated then?
It can make you bloated, and within just a couple of hours, it actually changes your physiology, causes inflammation in your arteries and in your joints in just a few hours.
That fast.
And the food that we eat changes the bacteria that live in our gut. We have this beautiful system that God wove into our gut. It actually is the same that's in the soil. The same bacteria that live in the soil live inside of our intestines.
Wow.
But the foods that we eat and the lifestyle that we choose change those bacteria. When we're eating a healthy diet, we have healthy populations of bacteria that produce good byproducts for our body, that reduce our blood sugars, that reduce inflammation, that produce serotonin, the happy hormone for our brain. But when we eat unhealthy food, it changes this microbiome, and they begin to produce molecules that cause inflammation in our joints and in our arteries. So the choices of the food that we eat directly impact inflammation in our body. So for our viewer that asked this question, I would recommend a few things. Transitioning to make sure that your diet contains lots of whole plant foods. dark leafy greens, broccoli family, berries, mushrooms, onions, garlic, and lots of spices that are all anti-inflammatory in nature.
I like that, and that sounds good too. That does sound good. Now, one of the challenges, and I want to just address this because I know that sometimes it's not the salad, but what we put on it.
That's right.
Is there a caution there too? Because sometimes we could dress the salad in a way that God never dressed it, and then it could become counterproductive. Is that something that could happen?
Yeah, you know, I really appreciate your caution to some of our people that have made the transition from a meat-centered diet towards a plant food-centered or vegetarian kind of a diet.
Yeah.
They can still be very lousy eaters and be very, very unhealthy, because you mentioned it's not just that we shift from meat to plants. Well, that's a good move to move in that direction. But it's also important that we perhaps, and maybe even more so, that we move from the processed foods to the more whole foods as they come out of the hand of a master designer.
Yes.
And then you can really fold your hands and pray with gratitude instead of asking for forgiveness.
That's a good one.
Wow. This is a good question. I'm looking at it.
Oh, yeah, this is about oil. Are you taking all oils out of your diet? They're asking you both. Are you saying take all oils out of
What
your
about
diet?
flaxseed?
Did God make oil, or is this man-made?
Man-made.
It's largely man-made, isn't it?
That's right.
So, you know, oils it's the most constant source of calories that you can eat. And so in a society where you already are suffering with overweight, why would you put extracted oils into the diet, which are empty calories? They have no nutritional value. When you can get the oils that you need in food as it comes. When you eat corn, corn contains corn oil.
Avocado?
Does it? Avocado has oil. Nuts have the right kind of oil. When you have wheat oil, there is some oils there. God somehow, I don't know, he didn't make too many mistakes, it seems to me.
He didn't make any mistake.
Didn't make any. That's good, because we looked for, instead of getting it from the natural source, we try to get it, what we tend traditionally or habitually or hereditarily, we look for the sources that were man-made. So you get corn oil, all kinds of different oils that are in a bottle that you can't open and drink it and survive.
And one of the other things that I like to mention to my patients is that oil is highly calorically dense, but it doesn't have many nutrients. And so every day, a woman should have about 1,500 to 1,800 calories, and a man around 2,200 calories. So if you were thinking about how you would best spend those calories, you would choose foods that are high in vitamins, high in minerals, high in fiber, high in antioxidants, high in phytochemicals that are going to go inside and nourish your body and optimize cellular function and turn on the biochemical machinery and feed the microbiome and reduce inflammation. That's how you'd want to spend your calories. But if we're eating 600 or 700 calories per day from oil, it has none of those things in there, and it's lips to hips in 3 minutes. And it can begin disrupting. Some of the oils cause inflammation. And so it is better to get it in its whole form, where it comes with all of those beautiful things that God packaged that are going to enhance health.
Well, someone wants to know, is it healthy to slice potatoes like a chip and put olive oil on them and toast it in the toaster oven?
Well, these are, what shall we say, there is no absolutes, there is no dogmatic statement that you cannot do this and you cannot do this.
Right.
So if a person wants to have a special treat and do this, there's no problem that I see. As a matter of fact, when I have a salad, we may have a little salad dressing and there's some olive oil in there.
Yes.
We are not legalistic or dogmatic, and from now on thou shalt no longer. No, what we're saying is think about moving in the right direction.
Okay.
You see, move in the right direction, and if you're overweight, cut back on your oils because they're empty. You call them, they have no nutritional value to turn on the chemical machinery. Right. Begin to eat foods that have a lot of fiber and nutritional value. This is then the trend that we want to pursue. We are not here to make your life miserable.
No, you make such a good point. And I always tell people that 1 Corinthians 6:12 and 13 says, all things are lawful, but not all things are profitable. All things are lawful, but I will not be mastered by any. So we operate from that standpoint that all things are lawful. We're not putting ourselves under a legalistic burden around food or condemning ourselves or judging ourselves based upon what we eat. But now with a renewed mind, we're making better transformed choices.
And I like that you use in the Bible as a base, because the Bible does, and we know that being Adventists, we know that the Bible has given us those red areas, those yellow areas, and those green areas. The red areas, all the unclean foods we know the Bible talks about. And we know that in all of those categories, the toxins, the unhealthy things that come into our body leads to its debilitative responses. Then the yellow areas. And the Bible doesn't talk about much yellow areas, but I think more in our society today. And I'll give you in a yellow area. Can I gain up 10 points on this one? A yellow area would be barbecue potato chips. A yellow area. Now I'm not gonna try to support my barbecue potato chip habit. I know I'm listening I'm learning. But if you have a barbecue potato chip every now and then, instead of buying a bag a week and just sitting and consuming it like some people have done before, I don't know who that is, but it's hard on the reputation, but it's really important to know. So these are the yellow things. Like you mentioned a moment ago, a cup of ice cream periodically is not going to be the meaning of your death, but do not make that the way you live. And what I'm hearing, move in the right direction. Move in the right direction. That's some more questions here.
How do you reverse osteoporosis? Her doctor wants to put her on Fosamax, and she doesn't want to take it.
Well, I don't really, you know, I agree with this person. I would be somewhat hesitant too, because there are all kinds of side effects, like jaw necrosis, which means that you can actually fracture your jaw as a result of these side effects from the Fosamax. On the other hand, depending on where the narrowing, the what shall we say, the lightening of the bone area is. For instance, when we have people that have problems with their spinal area, we usually, as some other physicians have done too, we recommend to them to put a backpack on, put some sand or books or some weight in them, and then you walk straight every morning, 10, 15 minutes, and you go up to 30 minutes a day. You put pressure on the system. What have you found can be done?
So osteoporosis is atrophy of the bones, basically. For most women and for men, most of our bone density is obtained by our early 20s. And then the lifestyle choices that we decide to embark on can either add bone strength or begin subtracting it. And so what the research shows is that our taking calcium does not necessarily increase our bone strength. The foods that we eat can either subtract from our bones or add to our bones. If we're eating a Western diet that's high in foods that are very acidic, like meats and oils.
And coffee and a lot of
coffee and phosphoric acid and carbonated beverages and soda.
Caffeine and all that.
All of those things will actually suck calcium out of the bones, and you can actually measure the level of calcium that's being excreted in the urine. You're losing calcium, you're urinating your bones away by eating those foods and drinking those sugar-sweetened beverages that have phosphoric acid.
Really?
On the other side, when we eat plant-based foods, the minerals and the vitamins and the phytochemicals turn on the bone-building cells and begin rebuilding bone and strengthening bone. And there are many cases of people with osteoporosis who transition to a whole food plant-based diet and weighted exercise. They will see an improvement in their bone condition.
Wow.
Really?
Tell us a little bit more about your specialty in medicine. Now you listen to this.
Yes.
So my specialty is called physical medicine rehabilitation, which is sports medicine. And dealing with people that have painful conditions. I was a team physician at Lehigh University and with the United States bobsled team for many years.
Did you?
And
You also ran with the bobsled
I was
team.
on the
right?
1994 Olympic team, that's right.
Did
You
you
were on
make
the
him pop?
1994
Yes.
Olympic team?
Yes, I was.
You
Oh,
were?
man.
Yes.
Had I known that in the beginning of the program,
What?
I would have. That's amazing. Well, see, you're not just talking from a medical perspective, but you
No.
were there.
Sports medicine, rehabilitation.
Right. Wow, that's
Oh.
good to meet you, Doctor.
Osteoporosis, preventable, to a large extent reversible.
Suspendable and reversible. And, you know, putting on a weighted vest, like Hans was saying, doing push-ups, using weights to strengthen the bone. If we stress the bones,
Resistance.
the bones turn on and begin to build themselves. Bone is alive, and so if we stress it, it will respond to the stress just like a muscle, and it will begin to rebuild itself.
So I can actually build muscle
You sure can.
And bone.
and
Yes.
My wife and I have all these things we laugh about.
Yeah, we do.
She says to me, you could be a little more muscular than that. I said, honey, at my age, is there any hope?
I'm happy with you. Yeah, I'm just.
I know. But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but I do desire to be a little stronger than I am now. And what we've learned tonight, we're going to start putting them into practice. And I know you're going to do this very same thing. If you're listening to the program, your ears are perking up. You are recording, you are saying, wait a minute, I'm listening, because when you get advice, how many of you do you know what it will cost for 2 hours of medical consultation?
Okay.
Couldn't do it.
I got a
But we
quick.
have two doctors here.
I
Now,
got
honey,
a quick
what
question.
do you have?
What are the health benefits of taking the herb black seed oil? Have you heard of black seed oil?
I have no idea.
And I don't know what the health
I don't know
benefits of
what's-
black seed
yeah.
oil would be.
What
I'm
is
not
black
sure.
seed oil to
They
start
must
with?
be
I'm not sure what black
flaxseed.
seed is.
Maybe
now,
they meant
flax
flax.
seeds.
They might probably mean flax
I bet
seed
they
oil.
meant flax seed.
So, and we recommend whole ground flax. So buying the flax seeds, grounding the flax, putting it on your oatmeal, putting it in your smoothie, mixing it in,
take
because it's better to take it as the whole food where you get the fiber as well. But it can be an excellent source of omega-3 fatty acids,
Yes.
which are anti-inflammatory in the body.
Okay, because I never heard
Dr.
of black
Deal,
seeds.
Dr. Deal,
Oh,
you have something
remember
to
I
say.
talked to you about I make the breakfast at home?
Yes.
Because it's so easy to do.
Yes.
So my wife brags. My husband, he's a German man, but I taught him to make 1/3 of all the meals.
She
I said,
taught
well,
you.
You didn't tell him it was just the breakfast. Easy to do, 10 minutes. But we always have some flax seed.
Okay.
Be sure you grind it.
Grind it.
Because if you don't grind it, it goes right
Goes
through.
right through you.
So it always has to be ground up, okay? So number one. Number two, when you have flaxseed, you want to start with 1 teaspoon a day because it's a flaxative.
Oh, not a laxative, a
A
flaxative.
flaxative.
Flaxative. It's a laxative, you see.
The
It's,
flaxseed?
yes, it is. So that's why you want to start with 1 teaspoon every morning or whenever you do it, and then you can move up to 2 or 3 teaspoons a day. That would be excellent. That would be a wonderful source of omega-3
That's right.
fats that the body wants to have. So flaxseed is wonderful, and I hope that's the question that this person
That's what I
submitted.
think.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
But again, don't use the flaxseed oil, but take the flax as it comes and grind it up so you get everything with it.
And I tell you, our program, why does it move so quickly?
It was
But
good.
it was very good.
Very
And I want to give each
informative.
of you an opportunity to just
Yeah.
challenge our audience, the listening audience and the viewing audience. We have just about 1 minute and 33 seconds. What can you do? Dr. Stoll, I'll give you the platform first.
Thank you, thank you. I want to encourage you that you can do this. I've worked with people all over the world from every circumstance in life, and they can do it, and so can you. And because the strength of our Father is in you, and by the strength of Jesus Christ, you can do all things.
Amen.
If you need more information, I did write a book called Alive, A Physician's Biblical and Scientific Guide to Health. It's a 40-day journey for health. You can get it on my website, drscottstoll.com.
Okay, and Dr. Deal, we got about 30 seconds for you.
Well, it has been a great journey for me to see some 85,000 CHIP graduates turn their lives around. They have learned that health is a matter of choice, rarely a matter of chance.
Wow.
So healthy by choice, and everybody can do it. You can do it regardless of your age and everything else. You are in charge.